it's almost like being independent is the most popular thing that we can do as human beings. Where it's almost as if God's kingdom is saying, hey, the opposite should be true, where we should be completely dependent on God. But it's that human kind of, and especially when we're in that sin and shame cycle. I think another thing that keeps us there is, well, I'll just fix myself. I'll just fix it myself.
Yeah,
right?
nobody cares.
Yeah,
I may as well do this.
I'm just on my own
Yeah.
here. I'm just gonna. I can do this. Like, maybe it'll take me years, and maybe when I do this, or maybe when I get married, or when I got this amount of money in my bank account, then I'll fix it, or then the problem will go away. But I think that, again, God's saying, like, hey, I am sufficient for you. So how do we flip the script? Like, and again, it's not an easy thing to do. Like, especially like just like practical kind of first steps. Like when I hear all around me and the world culture says, take care of yourself, be independent, don't rely on anybody else. Don't look to this person. Like, the only person you can trust is you. And it kind of just, I feel like that's what the culture is trying to tell us to do. But
That's
God's saying the
what
opposite.
heathenism is.
Yeah.
That's what it is, by the way.
Wow.
We live in a heathen society now.
Yeah.
Because that's what that is. It's what I want, and it's what I believe. And when Lord is saying, look, he says, my grace is sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what does grace do? What is grace?
Yeah.
Right? It is God's ability within us. It says, for the grace of God has appeared, Titus 2:11, for the grace of God has appeared unto all man, teaching us to abstain from evil.
Would you say that that's like the idea of common grace, or is that something different?
I think this grace is the grace that, remember, we were saved by grace.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and I was saved through unmerited favor. There's nothing. There is nothing in me. I was saved by God's grace.
Yeah.
But Jesus was full of grace and truth. Well, there was nothing unmerited about him. So what kind of grace was it?
Yeah.
Okay. So now that I accept Christ, because I was by grace, unmerited, totally didn't earn nothing. It was a gift of God.
Yeah.
And I received the gift of God. And then I'm filled with Jesus' grace, the same one he had, which is God's ability in you to extend grace, unmerited favor.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So now that I see, now the grace, it says, for the grace of God has appeared unto all men.
Yeah.
Now, we either accept it or we don't. Now, once I've accepted it, what does grace do for me? The ability of God in me, what? Teaches us to abstain from evil. Grace doesn't give us permission to go out and sin.
Yeah. No.
Grace
Yeah.
teaches us to abstain from sin. Now, that is the grace that he says is sufficient for you.
Okay.
That grace that I've put in you, that is teaching you to abstain from evil, is the grace I want you to grow in and to become who I called you to be in that grace.
That's